So when you first start a new game in the Planet Crafter, you're going to have a small drop pod with some storage, and it's going to end up having some water, some oxygen, and some space food. Now, at the beginning, this is all you're going to have to eat is some space food. You're not going to have any way to produce food when you first start playing the game. But as you get out doing some exploring, especially of some of the wreckage, you're going to find some space food in there, as well as you're going to start finding seed packets. And that's when you start to wonder, well, how do I plant these seed packets and start growing, hopefully, some more food so I'm not stuck eating this nasty space food? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. So in the Planet Crafter, there's a lot of different seeds. You've got tree seeds, you've got flower seeds, and then you have food crop seeds. Now, the 4 food crops are eggplant, mushroom, squash, and beans. Now, the eggplants are used in making things like the algae generator tier 1 and making basic fertilizer. And because it's used to make fertilizer, you're gonna need a lot of fertilizer for other things like the tree spreaders and so on. So you'll be using a lot of eggplants to make fertilizer to make other things. As of right now in the game, the squash is only used to make fertilizer tier 2, but that also requires fertilizer tier 1, so you're going to be using, again, eggplant and now squash for this. And then your mushrooms are used to make bioplastic nuggets, which also go into things like the algae generators. Now, previously, beans was the only one of these crops that had no crafting use. It was literally the only one you had that was just a food item. But with the Insects and Waterfalls update, we got the addition of high quality food, which takes beans and honey and makes high quality food. So out of all 4 of these crops, beans are the only one of these crops that actually is used strictly for food production. All the other crops are used for producing other items. But if it really came down to it, you could eat these other crops just to fill your food meter, with beans restoring the most of your food health meter at 60 points, with high quality food restoring the 90 points that you saw. So if you're worried about running out of space food at the beginning of the game, don't, because you're going to find more than enough in the crates scattered through the wrecks and the landscape and the hidden bases. But if you do start to get worried about running out of space food, then just plant a couple of beans. You should be okay. Out of these 4 crops, mushrooms are the most rare crop to find, and it's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be pretty bad, but now you can actually find a pretty decent number of mushrooms. However, with another change to the game in a recent update, it's not even a matter of how many seed packs you can find. Now, in order to plant these seed packets and produce food, you need food growers. So food grower tier 1 right here will unlock when your oxygen reaches 12 ppt. Now, as you can see here, we have a certain amount of energy being used. Our growth speed is 0.6, which I can only assume 1.0 is referencing the speed it would grow naturally on Earth. But what matters is the growth speed means this is the slowest one. And you can see we have growth of 100%, which means it is ready to harvest. Now, if I want to harvest it, I have to target the eggplant. And originally, when you did this, you had to actually go back in and replace the seeds. But thanks to an aspiring modder, they released a mod to fix that. And then the devs decided to include that feature in the game. So when you harvest, you don't have to put new seeds in. So to plant seeds, you just target the food grower and then place the eggplant or whatever seeds you want to put in there, and it will start growing. And when you see they're fully grown, you can harvest them like I showed you. Now, food grower tier 2 will unlock when your biomass reaches 35 T. You can see here, it uses a bit more energy, almost double, but the growth speed is also almost double. Now, one thing to note here, if I try to take the seeds out while it's partially grown, it will let me. However, if you try to take the seeds out when it's fully grown, you can't. You can only take the seeds back out of a partially grown plant. So if you're wanting to take the seeds out to change what plant it is, you need to harvest it first before you can pop those seeds back out. And then with the Insects and Waterfalls update, we got the new outdoor farm. Now this one is going to unlock when your insect biomass, not general biomass, but the insect biomass reaches 1.5 T. Now it does use, of course, more power, But this also does not show a growth rate compared to the others. It shows growth percentage, but not growth speed. Compared to the food grower tier 1 and tier 2, though, this actually does more than just grow the food. It also adds plus 95 per second to the plants biomass and plus 8 per second to the insects biomass. So you're actually going to get some extra benefit from having these, but the biggest benefit is, as you can see here, there are 4 mushrooms growing. Same with this one here. I have 4 mushrooms growing, and that is only using 1 seed packet. So now, instead of using 1 seed packet to grow 1 plant at a time, you can grow 3 to 4 at a time. I have seen this where sometimes you only get 3 and they'll just sit there fully grown. It won't grow a 4th one, but it does tend to lean more towards 4 items every harvest. And this will work with all of the food crops. Now, the food crops do not have a difference. So eggplant is not going to make a difference compared to beans in the speed or in the amount that it produces for plants and insects. But you're getting a lot more benefit by having to not worry about finding as many seed packets, which is why I have so many spare seed packets like you saw already. So while earlier in the game, it may feel like you're going to not find enough seeds, you'll find plenty. You'll always have excess, and then you just start planting and producing all that you need with as many food growers as you want, indoors or outdoors. So that's how you grow food. But if you're worried again about running out of space food that you start with, don't worry, you're gonna find more than enough in the end. Just again, maybe make one of your first food growers a beans food grower and start using that as much as you can. And eventually you're going to get to high quality food. And at that point, you know, you're going to have more than enough. Honestly, I barely have to ever harvest from these, and I have more than enough to make plenty of high quality food to keep me going. So if this video helped you out, then be sure to help me out. Hit that like button, and hey, leave a comment below. Also, go check out my other videos in this playlist. And if you see something I haven't covered yet, be sure to leave it in a comment and I'll see about covering it.